I want to know what Tom thinks about the offensive tackles. He's talked about it before. I've asked him before, but I think me and the audience probably is more educated and probably better ready to hear it. So we're seeing mock drafts every day. Today, one from NFL Network had the Niners taking Kingsley Suamataia at 31. We've seen Roger Rosengarten. That's what Mel Kiper thinks. We've seen Jordan Morgan, all kind of different offensive tackles, and not just offensive tackles, but I think that's the position that a lot of fans and analysts think is the spot to go to. So why don't we go through the different offensive tackle options that the Niners might have at the end of round one?
Okay.
And what do you think of them?
I think there's 6 offensive tackles that can start on day one. And for the Niners, the 5th and 6th might fall far enough down so that they can trade up for them. So I would think that the last of the 6 is probably, according to most mocks, Amarius Mims. That's the guy that I like from Georgia. Coach likes him as well. 6'8", 340, and very athletic, very fluid. He plays with low leverage. He plays with great power. He's got huge wingspan, so it's very tough to get past him. And he doesn't give up sacks. He played exceptionally well against Ohio State in 2022. He's proven that when he does play, he can play exceptionally well. But the issue is he's only played 8 games, and he's had injury problems. He had tightrope surgery last year, recovered from that, played well. But he still has had the injury bugaboo. And he had an injury problem running his second 40 at the combine. So there are people that are worried about, can he last? Given that this is just college and he's already had these injuries and he's missed time, what's going to happen in the league? And it comes down to what's your medical evaluation of Mims. But in terms of the player himself, you look at the games that he's played, he's been dominant. He's a great player. So the question is, are you willing to take that gamble? Are you willing to make that risk? The Niners might. They could trade up. We'll see.
If it were his knee, I'd say no. But it doesn't necessarily sound like it's a degenerative issue at something like that. So I would think absolutely. Do you consider him a developmental prospect? Because I've seen some people say that. Or do you think he's a guy?
Well, he does need work because he just hasn't had enough college reps. Mm-hmm. So he needs to make better decisions. Sometimes his timing can be off, or he'll take a wrong angle or something like that. It's things that are easily fixed, but things that still need to be worked on. So I would say that there are some people that are just put him in the shop and you've got a red shirt for a year. I don't think that's Mims. I think that Mims is going to need some time to develop first, but that he would be able to take the field in the year, and probably sooner than later.
Makes sense.
As opposed to the other guys that probably need a lot more work. So going on to those, Tyler Guyton is from Oklahoma, also 6'8", also big, huge frame. The problem is that he doesn't play as low as Mims does. He plays high. He can bend at the waist. He can miss. He'll have timing issues. He'll hold his hands too wide. The defender can come into his chest and then use his height against him. And so for Guyton, it's more a question of polish, hand usage, leverage, technique. And those are things that take time. He's got the frame. He's got the physicality. He's got good feet. He's got good size. But he hasn't put it together yet. So I think that Guyton would be a redshirt. He's not someone that
redshirts are not what the Niners want to draft in round one. Shout out to Trey Lance.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think that they should take Guyton, but that's
fair
my
enough.
take on it.
Okay.
But there are others that might disagree. And you look at him physically and just say that he has the juice. He's got the frame.
He could be a real left tackle one day.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah.
In Oklahoma, he great coaching in Oklahoma. That's always been a good program at O-line.
Yeah.
Then you go to Jordan Morgan from Arizona.
Okay.
I think he's more developed as a pass protector than a run blocker.
Okay.
And that he tends to lock onto his man and stonewall as opposed to driving him off the line.
Okay.
And so the question with Morgan is, again, timing, technique, consistency, and just what exactly is he going to be able to do in a tackle role. Some people think he's better at guard. Some people think that he can play tackle. I think he'd be a good guard. He's got great movement skills, great feet. But Is that what you really want to do at 31? You want to take a guy that you thought might play tackle and then move him inside? I mean, that's not something I would do at 31. The evaluation of Morgan is 40s, basically, that's where he's ranked. Daniel Jeremiah has him 49th. ESPN has him in the 40s. So he's not really a first-round talent. If you want Jordan Morgan, okay, but drop down.
Okay.
And then Kingsley Suamataia, he has tremendous tools. He's a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, and so he has everything you would want physically. He had 31 bench reps at the combine.
Oh, wow.
Excellent. Very strong.
That's nice.
He's quick. He's got 21.5 in the GPS as a freshman on the field, just play speed. So he's got speed, he's got power, but he needs to put it all together, and that's something he hasn't done yet. Is that, again, it's timing, hand placement, leverage, all of those factors coming into play. What's his anchor like? His anchor can get beat, and so can he put it together? Yeah. And if he did, he could be a left tackle. But again, you still got technique development work to do with him. I'm not sure that he's someone that would play in his first year also. I'm not convinced of that. He might be, but he'd have to be a quick learner, and he'd have to be able to make that all happen. He could. He's got the talent. I talked to Marco about him yesterday, and he said that Kingsley is a great worker. His coaches think that he's a quick learner. He's motivated, a great teammate, great person. So you've got all that to work with, but
Penei Sewell's cousin
still have development. Yeah, and Penei Sewell, there's some great DNA. So he could. It's just a question of what's your confidence level in when he can get to the point that he can play well at an NFL level against NFL competition with similar size, strength, speed.
Let me ask you a question before we move on to other prospects. The ones we've mentioned so far, how would they compare to, let's say, Mike McGlinchey coming out of Notre Dame in 2018?
McGlinchey, well, yeah, I hated the pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As I've told you before, I think that pick was made for
ninth
management reasons. Yeah. And in a loaded draft.
Yeah.
But they picked him because Trent Brown wanted out, and Parag said, no, we don't want to pay you, and so we're going to draft your replacement. Drafting the tackle replacement in a draft that had Minka, Derwin James. What are you doing? Anyway, to McGlinchey, he was a run blocker first, and in pass pro he wasn't really all together there. And that was basically his career, is that he could make run plays for you. And that's what Kyle valued. That's why he was chosen. But he would have to reach and really struggle to pass protect. That he would literally leave his feet to make sure that he could get him out and make the play, get contact. So he had a lot of work. He had a lot of power that he needed to develop and didn't. Mm-hmm. And so he wasn't really ready. And if I had to say, okay, so who's the McGlinchey equivalent? Probably Guyton, in that he has some run blocking ability, but still has a lot of work to do.
I guess I'm asking if McGlinchey were in this draft coming out of Notre Dame in 2024, where would he have gotten taken? Round 2?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's neither here nor there. How about...
And then the last one is Roger Rosengarten.
Yeah.
And Kuiper has doubled down on him. He's picked up twice now at 31 for the Niners in his last 2 mocks. And I can see it. He's working with Joe Staley. He worked with Ed McCaffrey in high school. Mm-hmm. So he knows the system, and he's got people that can vouch for his character, his play level, his competition. Mm-hmm. And Rosengarten did a great job at UW. He protected the blind side for Penix, even though he's playing right tackle since Penix is a lefty. And he did well. He makes the most of what he has in terms of power, technique, movement skills, great feet. So he can work, but he only had 20 when you compare that to Suamataia at 31 in terms of bench reps. So he's got a lot of power work to do in the weight room. And until he does that, it's an issue. I mean, we've seen that with Spencer Burford, where he lacks NFL strength and he loses on the offensive line as a result. You need to sync up your timing with your power. And I think that Rosengarten would struggle with that coming out of the gate. So he's another one where you couldn't start him right away.
I was looking up other offensive linemen to compare him to. And I found one guy who I was surprised. He ran a 4.88, which is just blazing fast at 315 pounds. He put up 23 reps on the bench, which was less than I was expecting, considering this guy is an all-time great. Do you know who I'm thinking of?
No.
Trent Williams.
Yeah, makes
23.
sense.
Now, I'm not comparing Roger Rosengarten to Trent Williams.
No, Trent's an all-time talent in terms of physical gifts. But yeah,
but if
I know
you
that he was really
line up the combine results from Trent Williams and Roger Rosengarten, man, Roger held his own. Roger really did a good job at the combine.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. He ran really fast.
Yes.
And his 10 time was excellent.
Was good. I mean, he's a good athlete.
Drills. Yeah. He did everything across the board really well.
Yeah.
But you still have the
below
lack
average
of power.
Yeah.
And so if you lack NFL core strength, can you take the field? Probably not, especially a tackle. So, what can you do? And I think that 31 would be overdrafted.
Guard doesn't help that.
No. I don't think he should play guard. I think that the strength of Rosengarten is that he's great on an island. He's very good in space. And the question becomes is just how long would it take him to power up, literally? I don't think
McGlinchey put up 24 reps on the bench. Yikes. So now you're taking someone who has less reps than McGlinchey.
And we saw what happened when McGlinchey was in pass pro, that was exploited.
Now, one thing with McGlinchey, he was 6'8", so he had a combination of being high cut and not physically strong. At least Rosengarten's a little lower to the ground. But I was the comparison would be Joe Staley. Joe Staley put up 27 reps on the bench.
And Staley powered up quickly on top of that.
Yes, he did.
And Rosengarten can do that. The other thing to factor in is that Rosengarten is only 21. He turns 22 in June. So part of this is just body maturity. Is that once his body matures, his physicality can take hold and he can power up. But until then,
like the two offensive linemen.
No.
It seemed like the offensive linemen you had the nicest things to say about were Amarius Mims, who may not be there for the 49ers at 31, and Kingsley Suamataia.
Yeah.
And
because both of them have the core strength you need to succeed. Both of them have length and great feet. And so they've got the physical tools that you need to succeed. And they're people that can go to left tackle because they have those skills and tools and succeed there. But with Mims, I think that his ceiling is much higher than Kingsley's, and that Mims has only played 8 games, and we've already seen what he can do in those 8. Once he does get coaching experience and polish, what can he become? And I think that the ceiling on Mims is all pro, and the ceiling on Kingsley, maybe Pro Bowl. Different thing.
Yeah. Still though, for Kingsley, I'm looking at his raw athletic numbers. He ran a 5.04. It's nice at 326 pounds. I mean, he's a big dude.
He moves really well.
Yeah, he's got 34.25-inch arms. I mean, he's probably more gifted than Rosengarten, just physically.
He is, but Rosengarten makes better use of the tools that he has in terms of technique.
Okay.
And being able to survive on an island, like I said, and that he proved that no sacks at Washington. They did a great job protecting Penix. So I think that Rosengarten, it's mainly just you've gotten most of the technique, just add the power. With Kingsley, he needs the technique, so he's got to put it together. And there are some teams that love Kingsley. There's some that don't. Part of the thing with these tackles is the eye of the beholder. ESPN reported today that New England is really high on Kingsley, and they're doing research on him, a lot of homework. They're targeting Suamataia.
Well, they have like the best offensive line coach in football.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Or one of them, along with the coach in Philly. But yeah, I would think that there's definitely something to be said for the people who know O-line well, value Kingsley. And so they're going to say that we think this guy can really be something. But those teams are also more willing to say, we're going to put in the time to develop him. The Niners are more of we want to compete now. And so if that's the case, the Niners might say that we don't want to wait for a development project, especially at 31.